Thank you, Sonia. Good afternoon, friends. I'm Shrenik, Belgian ambassador, advocate, and host of live webinar on behalf of Indian Cancer Society, Delhi, and a very warm welcome to everyone with this rose to all of you. This is from our backyard in London, and being an Indian, I do not want to forget the tradition of giving a warm welcome to everyone present today. Uh, before I
Okay.
introduce, before I introduce to our esteemed and expert speakers today, let me give you a brief introduction about myself. I am stage 4 bone cancer survivor. This is my distinct identity as a speaker, and in 2 weeks from now, that is on 5th of September, I will be starting my 30th, yes, 30th uh, survivor, 30th year of my cancer survivorship, and I'm having incredible and fabulous privilege and honor to represent Indian Cancer Society Delhi. This is 60th live webinar, uh, and few more things. हम लोग आज तक कैंसर अवेयरनेस की बात करते थे, प्रिवेंशन की बात करते थे. We were inviting oncologists, we were inviting other specialists और कैंसर ट्रीटमेंट की बात करते थे. But what was really missing, that is a leading quality life after cancer, and that too without fear. Let me give you one simple example. हम लोग जब रोड क्रॉस करते हैं, दोनों साइड से कार्स ये व्हीकल्स आते जाते रहे, एंड देयर इज ऑलवेज अ फियर कि कहीं कोई हमको हिट नहीं कर जाए. पर इसका मतलब ये नहीं होता है कि हम रोड क्रॉस नहीं करते हैं या नहीं करेंगे. सेम फॉर्मूला इम्प्लाइज हियर, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आज मैंने दो बड़े एमिनेंट स्पीकर. One is Miss Revdi, she's from IGS Mumbai team, and another one is Manisha Kumar, she's a breast cancer survivor, and they will be sharing their journey one by one. And let me give a brief introduction about Revdi. She's psycho-oncologist representing um, Indian Cancer Society Mumbai. She is doing commendable work, and she will be, as I said earlier, she will be rather talking about mental health and that too life after cancer. So, Revji, over to you now, and all the very best.
Thank you so much. Neha, you can show the slides.
Sure. Give me. Give me a minute.
Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Shrenik, and thank you to the Indian Cancer Society Delhi branch for inviting me to be part of Fridays with Shrenik. So, today we're going to talk about something that I feel is extremely important, but sometimes gets less attention once cancer treatment is completed, which is mental health and life after cancer. Right? So, when we hear the words treatment is over, There is naturally a sense of relief, there is celebration, and definitely there should be. But treatment ending does not necessarily mean that everything immediately goes back to normal. So during treatment, you have a very clear structure. There are appointments, investigations, treatment schedules, medical goals, and then suddenly treatment finishes. And sometimes the person is left with a very different set of questions, which is how am I feeling? What happens now? Will I ever feel normal again? So today I want to talk about that journey. What life after cancer can look like emotionally, psychologically, and socially. And most importantly, I want to talk about how we can support survivors, not just to survive, but to actually thrive and live well. So, before we talk about mental health challenges, I want to briefly explain what we mean when we use the term or word survivorship. Next slide, please. So, cancer survivorship is much more than simply the period after treatment. So, I like to think of it as life after treatment and everything that comes along with it. So the journey doesn't stop at the end of treatment. It moves into survivorship, then rehabilitation, and ultimately towards living well. So survivorship includes long-term health and monitoring for late effects, depending on the treatment a survivor has received. Right? Late effects are nothing but health problems which can appear months or even years after cancer treatment has finished. It doesn't mean that cancer is coming back, but there are possible long-term effects of cancer or its treatment. So it could be changes in vision or hearing, growth, hormones or fertility, or heart or lung health, or bone health, or neurocognitive deficits such as issues with learning, memory, and so on. It could also include emotional well-being. It includes education and career. It includes relationships and social life. It includes autonomy, independence, and quality of life. So when we talk about survivorship, we're really talking about the whole person, not just whether the cancer has been treated. And importantly, survivorship is not a single event. It is a journey of healing, growth, and rebuilding a meaningful life. And that journey is not something that the survivor has to navigate all by themselves. So, how does this actually translate into care? So, let me briefly show you the model that we follow at Indian Cancer Society. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So, this is the ICS survivorship model. Now, what I want to highlight here is that survivorship has both a medical and a psychosocial component, right? So, on the medical side, there is your late effects follow up. You have regular monitoring of long term health and well being, which is done by the oncologist, and early detection and management of late effects to prevent secondary cancers. So the ACT clinic, or it's also called the after completion therapy clinic or the survivorship clinic, that is the best example for this kind of a long term follow up. So I'll talk about it in detail in the next slide. But the other side, which you can see, is the psychosocial side. So survivors and family may need emotional support, counseling, help with adjustment and connection with other survivors. And if I'm not wrong, at Indian Cancer Society Delhi, Sahyog was the first survivor support group in India that provided a platform where survivors could come together, share experiences, support one another, right, and build a sense of community. So this is a very important part of survivorship because sometimes the most powerful support can come from someone who has actually been through a similar experience. So over time, survivor groups and survivor-led initiatives, they've continued to evolve. And at ICS Mumbai, UGAM is another example of how survivors can come together, not only for peer support, but also for leadership, advocacy, awareness, and community connection. So the idea here is not simply that cancer treatment is over, so the care is over. The idea is continuity of care beyond treatment. So our goal is to support survivors through different stages of life, right, with comprehensive medical and psychosocial care. And this is where the ACT Picasso pathway becomes particularly relevant. Next slide, please. So at Indian Cancer Society, our survivorship work is brought together through a project which is called Picasso, started in 2017, so which is called Partnership in Cancer Survivorship Optimization Program. So the belief is that we don't want survivors to disappear from the healthcare system once treatment finishes. So Picasso brings together different components. For example, the after completion therapy clinic, the late effect support, psychological counseling, educational support, career counseling, and UGAM, survivor support. So instead of looking at one isolated problem, we're trying to create a network of support around the survivor and their family. And one of the important clinical anchors for this model is, of course, the ACT clinic, which is a hospital based survivorship model. And this traces back to 1991, where the first ACT clinic was initiated at Tata Memorial Hospital in Mumbai, which was led by Dr. Purna Kurkure. And she began with 5 childhood cancer survivors. And this model was inspired by the ACT survivorship approach at St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis, USA. And the important point for us to understand is not only the history, but also the philosophy of it, which is the surveillance does not stop when treatment stops, right? So survivors require long-term follow-up. There's no doubt about it. They require psychosocial assessment, educational and vocational support, and coordinated referrals. Because surviving cancer is just the beginning. So the process that we follow at our ACT clinics is that the ACT doctor first fills a medical performer and identifies late effects and other medical needs, and then the psychologist takes over. And the psychologist then connects the survivor to different services, which could include, educational, vocational support, which we at our branch we provide. It's called Dr. DJ Jasawala Education Fund. And then we have the late effects investigation and treatment support. We offer career counseling. We offer vocational rehabilitation for families where required. And of course, the survivor support through UGA. So the important message here is that rehabilitation is needs based. So one survivor may need help with education, another may need help with psychological support, another may need help with career guidance, another may need management of a late effect, another may simply benefit enormously from just connecting with people who have gone through a similar experience. So the purpose of this model is therefore to provide coordinated referrals and continuity of care rather than treating each problem in isolation. So it's a multidisciplinary care plan. So now we've talked about the survivorship care, what it looks like from the service provider perspective. So now I want to shift perspective and talk about what does survivorship actually feel like for the person who has completed treatment, right? Next slide, please. So this is probably one of the most important messages of today's talk, that the journey doesn't end with cure. So we often think of cancer as diagnosis, treatment, cancer free, and then we assume that the person simply moves on. And but there is actually another important journey, which is survivorship, then rehabilitation, and ultimately the goal is leading a healthy adult life. And rehabilitation is not only about correcting a physical problem; it can be about returning to school, returning to work, building healthy relationships, fulfilling dreams, living with confidence. So I think the message we need to move towards is that ending treatment is not end of the journey, and it can actually be the beginning of a new chapter. And this is where the emotional experience, right, of survivorship becomes very important. Next slide, please. Now, when treatment ends, life doesn't always immediately return to normal. So we may imagine the journey such as diagnosis, treatment, end of treatment, then rebuilding life. But somewhere in between is this question, now what? So the survivor may be thinking, how am I feeling? Who am I now? How do I reconnect with people? What about my future? Will life ever feel normal again? So during treatment, there's a lot of medical attention and support that they receive. But after treatment, that structure, that support suddenly starts reducing and they feel lost sometimes. And sometimes a person is expected to simply return to their previous life. But that's not always easy. And that is why I use the statement that being medically well does not always mean feeling psychologically well. That doesn't mean that every survivor is distressed, no. Many people adapt extremely well, they have very good coping. But when emotional difficulties do occur, we need to recognize them. And many of these difficulties sometimes, unfortunately, are invisible. Next slide, please. So, one of the biggest challenges in survivorship is that some of the most important difficulties are not visible. You may look well, but still be struggling. So, on the mental health side, there could be anxiety, there could be fear of recurrence, low mood, and uncertainty. There could also be difficulties related to self, such as body image or confidence issues or identity issues, and a feeling of loss of control. Relationships can also undergo transformation and change. Family relationships, friendships, intimacy, all this can be affected. And then there is, of course, life itself, education, work. You need to earn money, you need to build a career, like financial independence. So, for a young survivor, for example, cancer may have interrupted their school or college phase. For someone older, it may have interrupted employment or career progression. And sometimes people around the survivor don't completely understand why they're struggling because from the outside the person is looking healthy. So we need to remember that not every survivor experiences these challenges, but when they occur, they definitely deserve attention. So we should neither assume that every survivor is distressed nor assume that nobody needs help because treatment is over. Next slide, please. Yeah. Perhaps one of the most powerful questions, right, in survivorship is this, which is what if it comes back, right? So fear of recurrence can come around follow-up appointments. It can come on days where scanning is needed. It can come up while waiting for reports. Sometimes a physical symptom can suddenly trigger fear. Even anniversaries can bring memories back. So what I would like to emphasize is something important, which is fear of recurrence it can be an understandable response to having experienced cancer. So we shouldn't immediately label every fear as a mental health disorder. Some degree of worry can be understandable, is normal. Now, what becomes concerning is when that fear becomes persistent or overwhelming and begins interfering with everyday life, such as your sleep, work, education, relationships, right? Or the ability to enjoy the present. So the goal isn't necessarily to eliminate every fear, but the goal is to help the survivor live meaningfully, despite some uncertainty about the future. And sometimes the question isn't only will the cancer come back, but it is also, next slide please, who am I now? Because cancer can change the way people see themselves. There may be changes in body image. There could be a loss of confidence. Someone may wonder, can I trust my body again? Can I look the same? So there may be questions around relationships as well. How do I reconnect with people? Will people accept me? And questions around purpose, which is what do I actually want from my life? So for adolescents and young adults especially, this can be particularly important because identity, relationships, education, career are already developing during those years. So cancer can interrupt that process. So when we talk about recovery, I don't think we should always frame it as how do we get back to exactly who we were before, because sometimes recovery is also about creating a new sense of normal, a new normal, which acknowledges what has happened, but also makes space for what comes next. Right? Next slide, please. So the next question is, when should someone actually seek psychological help? So I would say that you don't have to wait until you're completely unable to cope. So if distress is persistent or it's increasing, that's something to pay attention to. If it starts affecting your sleep, relationships, right, education or work, that's important. Those are the red flags that you need to identify and be alert about. If someone starts withdrawing from activities or loses interest in things that they previously enjoyed, that is another sign. If anxiety or low mood is becoming significant, professional support can help. So, psychological support can begin with simply understanding what you're experiencing. They can, and then work slowly on the coping skills, right? The therapist can work on reconnecting with relationships, reducing that sense of being alone, and ultimately can work towards rebuilding confidence, purpose, and a meaningful life. And I really want to emphasize this statement at the bottom that asking for help is not weakness, right? It is part of taking care of yourself. So we don't want for a physical problem to become, we don't wait, right, for a physical problem to become severe before seeking medical care. So the same applies to psychological well-being as well. Next slide, please. So what actually helps someone move forward? Right? There is no one formula for this. But of course, supportive relationships are very important. They act as protective factors. Having people who listen and stand by you without any judgment. Family support can provide a sense of safety and continuity. Peer support can be particularly powerful because another survivor may understand experiences what others cannot fully, appreciate. Then professional psychological support when needed, because that provides a very structured space to process that cancer experience, develop coping strategies, help deal with negative thoughts, and so on. Returning to meaningful roles, that's also very important. So, which could mean returning to education, work, volunteering, family responsibilities, right? Being functional basically in your everyday life. So, your physical activity, healthy routines, all of that is important, including movement, sleep, nutrition. So, all of this can support both physical and emotional well being, right? So then you have goals, you have aspirations, meaning, purpose. So rehabilitation is not about fixing what went wrong. It's also about helping someone move towards something which they value. And that is why I really like this statement, which is recovery is not about forgetting cancer. It's about making space for life beyond cancer. And that brings me to my final message. Next slide, please. Which is survival is not the end of the story. So we can think about survivorship as a journey where person survives, heals, reconnects, rebuilds, and ultimately thrives. And thriving doesn't mean that someone will never feel afraid again. It doesn't mean that cancer is forgotten, and it doesn't mean that survivor has to be positive all the time, not at all, because I don't believe in this be positive kind of mantra, right? It is not realistic. So it means having the opportunity to build a life that contains more than the illness, a life which can include education, work, relationships, right? Family, purpose, dreams, different possibilities. So if there is one message I would like everyone to take away today, it is that cancer may be an important chapter in someone's story, but it does not have to become the whole story. Thank you so much. You can.
Thank you, Kavita. Commendable presentation. In 15 minutes, you did really good job.
Working at
And
once.
friends,
Yeah,
uh,
can you please, show the first two slides once, if possible? I will share. Sure, thank you.
uh, so Kavita, you did commendable work. Lovely presentation. Thank you, Dr. Kwanna Agrawal, for coordinating today's talk. Review what I like the much, that is ACT, because of modern this is something commendable. And of course, IGS Mumbai must be doing a lot of work, but this is to be spread all over India so that more and more people can take benefit of this support. And say friends, कैंसर हो गया, ट्रीटमेंट हो गई, all these stuffs are part of the life within हॉस्पिटल. लेकिन एक बार हॉस्पिटल से बाहर आए, उसके बाद में क्या करना है, going back to work, leading normal life, these are important stuffs. And once again you did a commendable job. I mean, before I invite next speaker, अगर किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन देवते को पूछना है, please unmute yourself one by one. And
Sure.
but we want to be brief.
Yeah, Revati ma'am, thank you so much for the wonderful information shared by you. Actually,
Thank
coincidentally, we have been looking for this information since a long time, because in India, the rehabilitation phase after cancer has not been that, sensitive, and much of work is pending as compared to other countries. And recently, 2 weeks back, I attended a session by Tata Hospital, Mumbai, similar to this, like survivorship post cancer. But even, I connected with their doctors, even they are, trying to set up something like this. So I'm
Right.
so glad that I was able to attend your session, and I was just trying to find similar sessions on this. And one more thing, yeah, I truly agree with you. Always being positive is something which is completely unrealistic, because
Right.
even post cancer treatment, there are so many challenges. So I would just
Right.
like to ask one quick question with you, that is there any organized support group, especially for the survivors of cancer? Because there are so many support groups in which patients and survivors are mixed up. So, it
Mhm.
loses its essence. So, are there any organized support group which caters to the need, especially to this, how to manage the survivorship post cancer, and members are only who have survived this and now, entering the normal usual life?
So in my presentation, I spoke about UGAM, which is our childhood cancer support group that started in Tata Hospital actually in 2009. So Miss Preeti Phart, she's a retinoblastoma survivor herself. So she and a few of her, contemporaries, they started the support group with the guidance of Dr. Purna Kurkure and Dr. Vandana, and now it's fully functional. We have more than 300 survivors who are enrolled, or more than that, I think, more than 500. And they connect monthly once, like the first Sunday of every month, and survivors come together, and there's a topic that is discussed in each session. And even Dr. Savita Goswami, who is a clinical psychologist of Tata Hospital, that she moderates it from a psychological perspective, and then Dr. Maya from an oncologist perspective, and there are different other stakeholders. And so there are different issues that are sort of discussed and talked about, and there's a lot of mentoring which happens. And every year we have the anniversary where survivors come together and showcase their talent, and then students have performed well academically, right? They're felicitated. So a lot of activities of UGAM happen year throughout the year as well. So we have, and that's only for survivors. There is no mix of patients. It's the cohort is very homogeneous.
Okay, sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Um, Swanda, since I guess you're living in Delhi, so it will be
I'm
far
in Mumbai, sir.
more. Well, oh, I'm sorry. What you can do is like you need to attend our ISIS Delhi every other Friday live session.
Okay, sir.
These steps can give you a lot of information, and also we are live streaming on YouTube, and we are as and when you need, you can ask for YouTube link, and that can provide you adequate information you are looking for.
And if you're looking for any support, you can always connect with Preeti. I mean, I can help you connect with him.
So, can you share her number?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Sure. So, ma'am, so you can share with, like, should I ping you my number, or how should we connect?
Yeah, you can do that offline. We'll take it offline.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, friends. Now I would like to move on to next speaker. She's Manisha Kumar from Noida. Uh, Breast cancer survivor, entrepreneur, and last but never the least, she is a fellow TEDx speaker. And I must say, she's like a warrior. And as I said in the initial stage, it is important about how to lead quality life after cancer, after diagnosis, after treatment, and so many other complications which are occurring in the hospital. But you are not going to stay in hospital for the lifetime, right? So let me welcome Manisha Kumar from Noida. And Manisha, stage is all yours. Start sharing your journey, experience, expertise.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you, Shrenik, for giving me this opportunity to be here today. And I'll quickly start off with my story. And yes, of course, it is. I don't want you to, kind of I am not going to cover each and every aspect of, what happened with me today, because as far as we're talking about survivorship, it's very important to touch base certain points that really help a person lead a better life after cancer. So I just hope that, somebody picks up something from here. I may be able to inspire someone or the other, and there are a lot of takeaways from my session today. So, hoping for the best. Let's get started. All right, so let me take you back to April 2022. I was diagnosed with stage 2 hormone positive, HER2 negative breast cancer. Very quickly, even my life became all about treatment, surgery, reports, radiation, medicines, appointments. I underwent a lumpectomy with lymph node dissection on my right axilla, followed by irradiation. And since then, I have been on hormonal therapy, which is almost 4.5 years now. So by the moment, the moment I kind of there was something that really changed, my thinking, and it happened just a day before my surgery, and not after a cancer diagnosis, actually. So I was told about this possibility of lymphedema that would happen, may or may not happen, post lymph nodes removal. And I was told about being very careful with my right arm, especially after the lymph nodes removal that would happen the next day, during the surgery. I remember being told that I should never lift more than 5 kilograms. And somehow, instead of thinking about what I was losing, my mind went somewhere else altogether. I thought, if this is something I have to live with, I need to understand it. And that was the day my mind shifted from treatment to survivorship. I started learning about my body. What happens after lymph node removal? What is lymphedema? What can I do to reduce my risk? Can I exercise? Can I lift? What will my body need after surgery? How do I get back to leading a normal life? As we just discussed, I didn't take a break from finding those answers. I kept learning, I kept asking questions, I worked with experts, I started training, I continuously observed my body. And slowly, my relationship with my body began to change. As some of you may know, I even lifted my doctor in my arms, and eventually I deadlifted 100 kilograms. But honestly, the 100 kilograms was never the real achievement. The real achievement was everything that happened in between being told 5 kilograms and that lifting 100 kilograms. I was understanding my body. I was building trust in my body. I was learning what my body could do after surgery. And I discovered something else along the way. My new normal wasn't exactly the normal that I had known before. This normal had supplements. This normal had endurance. This normal had resilience. It had medicines continuously working in the background, sometimes making me even weaker while I was continuously working to become stronger. Yes, it had discipline. And yes, it has something, which I call as unexpected advantages too. Now, people must be thinking, how can there be an advantage in that? And there's this saying that we all know and we all use it very pretty often. कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ खोना पड़ता है. So in my case, let me tell you, there was one thing that I was quite happy to lose, and that was my periods. Seriously, I could swim at any time. I could go into the rains at any time without thinking about anything. Obviously, because I had to take these injections, and yes, I was on medication. But that one little injection also gave me the freedom from so many days of pain, discomfort, and the fear that comes with periods also. I am also on another medicine called letrozole, and I know what it is doing to my bones. I believe most of you may know who is a breast cancer warrior on a hormonal treatment, on a letrozole, what it does to the bones. I know the effects it can have on my muscles, my strength, my mood, my sleep, my metabolism. But something else happened alongside all of this. I discovered exercise. I started enjoying working out. I started enjoying having a routine that was dedicated to me and my body. And honestly, I don't feel older with this new life. I started feeling younger, and I'm sure you all can see that. My supplements for building a healthier body are probably more than that one tablet or that one injection that I have to take. And I don't crib about taking them anymore, because somewhere along the way I actually stopped seeing all of this as a burden, and I started seeing it as an investment in the body that I wanted to build. Every time I visit my doctor, I almost look forward, to surprising them with better reports. The reports that perhaps they don't even anticipate. And there is something incredibly special about hearing your doctor say, Manisha, you are an inspiration. And even more special is seeing them exercise themselves and then motivating me to stay consistent. I think those are the moments that remind me that the work I am putting into myself is actually visible. And I also know that I didn't do this all alone. I have a very supportive family. My husband, I always see him on his toes, ready to step in wherever I need him. My kids, my parents on both sides, they made my recovery feel almost like a piece of cake. They gave me that space to recover, the confidence to keep going, and most importantly, the feeling that I was never doing this all alone. So, when you go through something like cancer, people around you become a very important part of your healing. And I'm deeply grateful for the one around me. And that's what I believe what survivorship became for me. It is not getting through a treatment, but building myself after treatment. And while I was figuring all this, out of myself, I started meeting other cancer warriors. Obviously, there are so many support group meetings that happen, in hospitals where you get the treatments. And I realized something. I had so many questions, but even they had so many questions. I was searching for answers about my body, my treatment, my exercise, my lymphedema, side effects, and life after cancer. But I realized that there were thousands of people probably sitting somewhere with exactly the same questions. And that's where we, the rise of M Burning Brighter actually came up. I started as a support group community, but over time it became much more than just a WhatsApp group. It became a place where people could actually come and talk. A newly diagnosed person could speak to someone who had already walked through the road. Someone finishing a treatment could talk about the fear that comes afterwards. Someone struggling emotionally could simply say, I am having a bad day, and sometimes that is enough. And today, one of the things that gives me the deepest sense of contentment is receiving messages from my fellow survivors telling me that something I said, something I had shared, or simply my being there made a difference in their lives. Those messages means more than I actually cannot explain that. Because somewhere along the way, my own experience stopped being only my story. It started becoming useful to someone else. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things that can happen to a difficult experience like, cancer. I've encouraged counseling over calls because emotional support deserves a place in survivorship. We all know that. We spend so much time taking care of the disease, we also need to take care of the person living through it. And that person may need any kind of information. They may just need a doctor, they may need a counselor, they may need another survivor, or sometimes they may simply just need someone to just listen to them, what they're going through, what they want to say. I've also realized something over the years. This is something personal. We are surrounded by energy that we carry. And when I look around at people who have been a part of my cancer journey, I see strength, I see love, and I see care. I'm grateful for every single person who has been a part of my journey. My doctors, my family, my friends, fellow survivors, professionals, trainers, everyone who has crossed my path and added something to this journey. Perhaps I attracted them, or maybe perhaps I manifested some of it. I don't know, but I definitely know this. I never anticipated that cancer could bring so many incredible people to my life, and Shrenik is definitely one of them, and I'm truly truly grateful about it. Thank you so much for being a part of my life. So there is, where I want to speak to. This is really, something really close to my heart that I want to say to every cancer warrior listening to this today. Regardless of the cancer you have faced, my story is about breast cancer. Your story may be completely different. Your surgery may be completely different. Your treatment may be completely different. Your body may need something different. But I believe movement has a place in survivorship. For me, that movement is strength training. For someone else, it might just be walking. It might be swimming for someone. It might be cycling. It might be yoga, dancing, or gradually returning to a sport you once loved a lot. The important thing is finding your way back to the movement. And please don't compare your starting point with somebody else's finishing line. So if Manisha or my 100 kg deadlift is it's my story. That isn't a target that every survivor need to chase. What matters is discovering what your body is ready for today and then progressively building from there with the right guidance. And my lymphedema journey has definitely taught me something very important. Very, very important. Awareness matters. Understanding your body matters. Learning to recognize your changes in the body really matters. And getting appropriate guidance matters. Exercise can become a powerful point of rebuilding confidence in your body. Because when your body has been through surgery, radiation, medication, chemotherapy, you can sometimes feel that your body, belongs to that disease. For me, strength training helped me feel that my body belonged to me again. So then, there is this part people don't always see. And I always face this. The body that may look strong from the outside, inside there is something, or I can say there's a lot happening inside. Medicines can affect your bones, your metabolism, your muscle strength, mood, sleep, your hormones. There are days when even I feel those effects. There are days when my routine requires much more discipline. I need to be kicked out of the bed. And then, this is where I learned that strength isn't that one spectacular moment. It is it is everyday stuff. Getting up, training when you would rather want to stay in bed, resting when your body genuinely needs recovery, eating well, taking your medicines on time, taking the right supplements, drinking enough water. We forget to drink water most of the time. Getting enough sleep, calming your mind, and then doing all this again tomorrow. That too is strength. This is also where I learned to enjoy discipline. My routine is self dedicated. I have time that belongs to me. I train, I recover, I eat with awareness, I take care of my body. And I genuinely have started enjoying the soreness, that I get after a good workout. And somewhere along the way, I realized that this life has made me feel a lot younger. And perhaps that's one of the most beautiful surprises of survivorship. Well, to sum up all of this experiences, eventually, I came together in what I call as a sacred life. Somebody might want to just write them down for themselves, or maybe it is a recorded session so you can have a look at it again as well. So we'll break down sacred and life. Okay, so sacred, strength train. A, active lifestyle. C, calm your mind. R, rest well. E, eat mindfully. And D, drink water. And then comes life. Live with a purpose. Inspire people. Have that financial independence. And E, embrace gratitude. These words, sacred life, represent the life that I am consciously building. Strength training keeps me strong. Active lifestyle keeps me participating. Calming my mind helps me handle that uncertainty and fear. Rest helps me recover. Mindful eating and, of course, drinking water helps me take care of my body. Purpose gives direction to my life. Inspiring people gives a meaning to my experiences. Financial independence gives me that freedom and confidence. And gratitude reminds me to appreciate the life I have today. Well, I wanted to create something, where cancer warriors could come together and simply be out there living, walking, running, laughing, cheering, and celebrating. And that brought to me, I would say that brings to me to the Warrior Ascent Canathon. I am not sure how many of you have heard about it. I wanted cancer warriors to stand at a starting line and think, I belong here. I dared to take that step to create India's first ever canathon where cancer warriors could come together not just to participate, to run, to compete, to challenge themselves, to discover how strong they really are, and to feel that resilience they carry. A resilience that sometimes gets hidden behind fear. And today, when I look back, I can proudly say perhaps it was only few out of those 100 plus warriors, but I did make a difference. I gave them a chance to experience something they may have once believed was no longer meant for them. I reminded them that they still can. They can run, they can compete, they can challenge themselves, they can win. They are winners, not just on the racetrack, but in life. And sometimes all a person needs is just someone to remind them of what they're really still capable of. And when more than 100 survivors, 100 warriors came together, it became much, much bigger than a race. It became a celebration of survivorship. It became a message of public health. It became visibility. It carried one simple thought: cancer warriors can run too. We can move, we can participate, we can challenge ourselves, we can inspire somebody watching us, and every survivor who shows up becomes a possibly, for a possibility for somebody else as well. Well, cancer also taught me about the parts of life that exist
I can hear
outside the
it.
hospital.
I can hear it. Come upstairs.
My treatment was something I never planned for. Insurance, yeah, it helped me, and I'm grateful for that. But cancer can actually affect the finances, the work, family, responsibilities, and future plans as well. For me, entrepreneurship and financial independence became a part of rebuilding my life as well. Because after cancer, there were still dreams to pursue, there is still work to build, and there are still responsibilities. There are still things you want to achieve. Survivorship for me became about rebuilding the whole life around this disease. And I also want to acknowledge something else. I hope I'm not taking enough time. At every step, 2 minutes left. Okay, all right. At every step, I made choices. I had a choice to stop. I had a choice to give up. I had a choice to stay afraid of my body. I had a choice to keep asking questions, to keep learning, to keep moving, and to keep rebuilding. And yes, there were moments when giving up could have felt easier. But some slaps in life are really hard to dare to think otherwise. Cancer was one of those tight slaps for me. It made me realize that life is not guaranteed, and that if I have been given that another chance, I have to make a choice about what I have to do with it. So today, when I look back at that woman who was told that she might never lift more than 5 kilograms, I feel grateful that she chose to ask questions. She chose to learn, she chose to train, she chose to keep going. And that decision took her from that 5 kilograms to 100 kilograms. It took her from being a patient to a warrior. It took her from finding support to building a community, from receiving care to becoming someone who helps others find their way forward. And perhaps this is why I call it a sacred life. Before cancer, I was living very full life of dreams, chaos, responsibilities, family, work, everything was there. But somewhere in that busyness, I was living without a deeper sense of purpose. Cancer came into my life, as I said, like a slap from God, a wake up call. He had a choice. He could have taken my life. Instead, he gave me another chance to live. And when you believe you have been given a life like that, you also feel a responsibility to live it according to his expectations, with purpose, with gratitude, with courage, and by making it count every single day. And today, sometimes I imagine him looking at me from there and asking, "So, how is this one?" And I want my answer to be, "This one is beautiful. A gifted life, a life with dreams, a life with purpose, a life filled with gratitude, a life that feels more meaningful because I know what it means to almost lose it." Today, my responsibility extends beyond my family. I carry a responsibility towards the people who are listening to my story, the cancer warriors who need hope, the people who need to believe their bodies again, and perhaps even those who I haven't met yet. That is what makes this life sacred to me. And now I have one responsibility above everything else: to keep moving forward. Because there is still so much life to live, so much to build, so many people to inspire. And so, how is this one? This one is worth everything. I have learned it, and I want each one of you to know this too. Your body. Your body can stand almost anything. It is your mind that you need to convince. Cancer changed my circumstances, but it also changed the way that I look at my circumstances now. And that is all from me today. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Manisha. Say, apart from inviting oncologists, everyone, who talks about awareness, treatment protocols, basically, we are looking for someone like you, a cancer warrior, I would say, showstopper, because this makes difference. Because, this is what people, the individuals, that is cancer patients, survivors, including caregivers, they learn everything from real life experiences, and these experiences as such, this cannot be simply available by browsing on internet. These are genuinely real life experiences spoken from heart. and that makes commendable difference. And believe me, you are doing commendable work. And yes, I love two things from your end. Number one, clear purpose. That's number one. And sticking to your purpose with passion, patience, performance, conviction, and then on top of that, surfacing all these factors with the gratitude that makes important aspect of the life. And yes, once you are cancer victim to survivor to educate, one question will disappear from life. You will stop questioning the great God of why me. On the contrary, you should be grateful that God,
Absolutely.
thank you for giving me for doing something for the community. So commendable. Thank you once again. And friends, anybody would like to ask question to Manisha, please unmute, give your name, and then ask question. We have few minutes left.
So before anybody has a question, thank you so much, Renik sir, for letting me speak, at on this platform. I'm so grateful to have you in my life, and for all those people who took out time to come here and to listen to my feelings coming directly from my heart. Thank you so much, everyone.
Manisha, I want to add one point here when you spoke in last 1 minute. You know, God is God is intelligent. Believe me, God is intelligent. You know why? He has put brain here and not here, because when you speak from your heart, you cannot manipulate, and that is the beauty of the God, that He has not kept brain in the heart and here. So that makes remarkable difference. And believe me, let me add one more point here. In my case, you have a fire from within to speak, and when you know very well that okay, I won't be able to speak for the lifetime, imagine the fear and still making mess out of it. That is all God's grace. This can
Absolutely.
never,
Absolutely.
this can never happen without God's grace and your own conviction. Friends, quickly, somebody would like to ask question. Let's proceed. Sneha, if there is anyone from YouTube or chat box, please share with us.
Interesting.
क्या बात है? Nobody wants to ask question to Manisha. She is a commendable warrior. शायद आपने किसी को कुछ पूछने लायक रखा ही नहीं होगा, इसलिए nobody is willing to ask question. By the
Nobody
way,
nobody wants to. Yeah.
I think so. Friends, during today's session, we are genuinely welcoming the cancer survivors, warriors to share their journey, because these are kind of real life experiences, and these experiences can motivate, inspire countless individuals, be it on YouTube or through Zoom link, because to lead quality life. मुझे आप सब लोगों को बताएं we some of the today's session. I don't know if there are any medical provision present here, but ये जो कैंसर सर्वाइवर है, वॉरियर है, पेशेंट है, और कैर गिवर है, उन लोगों के लिए एक छोटा सा टेक अवे इंग्लिश में, सॉरी, मेडिकल. There is one medical terminology, Manisha, you have to remember this. STML, STML, that is short-term memory loss. Short-term memory loss. Once you are diagnosed with cancer, treatment completed, then follow one simple trend or redefined formula, that is LTSMLN. N like London, T like Tom, S like sugar, M like mother, L like London, LTSML. That means long term specific memory loss. Long term specific memory loss. That means forget about it. That I had a cancer and epidemic. Life will turn out to be thrilling, fabulous, fascinating, and exceptional, and you are going to bounce back like a Formula Race 1 car driver.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, very true.
I assume there is no further questions. Thank you, Revdi, Manisha, and everyone present today. And we look forward to welcome you once again on 4th of September with the altogether new chapter, new topic. And
Sir,
yes,
I'm so sorry to interrupt you in between, but I just realized that can we have a helpline number from Revati ma'am if a survivor wants to speak or discuss having a tough time managing life after
yeah,
cancer?
yes,
You could
Revdi.
helpline number. You could give my number for now, and then whatever support is required, I could then guide and navigate them accordingly.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, sir, can you
Alright,
share?
friends. So, yeah, please.
Yeah. So, from where can we get Revati ma'am's number?
I'll put it on the
No,
chat.
yeah, and also I will share with you Sneha as well.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
I've put
So
my number.
yeah, thank you, Devdi. Thank you everyone for joining us today to Sixty get ready for 61st live webinar on 4th of September, and I want more and more cancer survivor warriors and caregivers to join us to share their journey, their experiences, because we want to touch the millions of lives in India and abroad. Thank you so much, and wishing you all a lovely weekend and all the best. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, sir.